Welcome back to another episode of Rocky Unscripted, where we talk about faith when Sunday is over. And this is part 3 of our brand new series. Today we are talking about type 3s, and we are talking about subtypes and how that can help us understand ourselves better and understand those that we love better. And we have special guests. Please welcome Cindy and Shan. Great to have you guys on the show.
It's awesome
to be here, man.
Right on.
Good to have you.
I know.
Yeah. It wasn't too long ago that you guys were on the show.
We did.
And we were talking about, there was definitely some overlap in what we're talking about today, because I'm pretty sure Enneagram 3 came up. So we're diving into more detail today.
Yeah.
And Mitch, welcome back to the show. I feel like at this point in every episode, we pick on you. I'm not going to do that today.
Thanks, Nick. I'm so excited to be here.
How are you today, Mitch?
Much better.
Okay.
Much better. I would say this, though. Dial it back a little bit. For those that listened to the Type 2 Enneagram podcast, you know what we're talking about right now. And I'd like to continue another theme that we have going on. In the first episode, we revealed that Mitch really likes lime-flavored Coke and says that it's superior to cherry Coke.
Oh.
I'm curious. We've been doing a poll. What would you guys say?
I would say lime, no Coke.
Wait, what?
I don't drink Coke.
You just want to drink the lime juice.
Put lime juice in water.
Oh, okay. No, I
sparkling
like
water.
that. You're kind of dodging.
I'm sorry. It would be lime then.
Okay, lime. All right. So
Thank you.
that's your first
No
person that's
Coke.
agreed with you. What do you say,
Coke.
Sean? And don't dodge the question like Cindy did.
Both. No, I'm going cherry Coke.
Yep.
Definitely.
Oh,
Sorry.
man.
Cherry Coke.
By far. I mean, just look at the product history. Cherry Coke has been around forever.
They got rid of it or lime Coke.
They did? Yeah, I remember back
you
in the
cannot
day.
buy it anymore.
It was weird.
Hey,
it was like,
what's that? What's a new one? Isn't there a new one
I
like
feel like there's a
Sparkle or something
billion.
like that?
I don't know.
There is.
Do you remember when there was a coffee and Coke mixture in a can? That was weird.
That
No,
is
it's still there. It's
It
still
is?
there. Yeah.
Seriously?
It was
you
weird.
get
I think
that
I took a sip one time. I was like, this isn't it for
It's
me.
like a power drink.
Yeah. So we digress. But good to have you back, Mitch, as always, to give us your wisdom and experience. And thanks for leading the way.
Thanks, Nick.
So let's get to know you guys a little bit more. You have been on the show recently, Cindy. I don't know when that was.
It was like a couple months ago, I think. Right?
Okay. So just quickly tell us about work, life, hobbies. Just let us get to know you a little bit.
All right. So married to John. We have 3 grown kids and we have 6 grandkids, 4 of which are moving into their house today.
Oh,
In
wow.
Firestone.
Is this, I was going to say, is this close by?
Firestone. Yeah, so we're
awesome.
super excited about that. And let's see, we have a Bernese Mountain Dog who we're kind of stupid in love with. So
Beautiful
she's-
dogs, for
Yeah,
sure.
she is shedding. She's a shedding machine right now. Spring and the whole everything. So anyway, but let's see. I'm an independent consultant. I work with the Table Group, Patrick Lincione's group, and I work with for-profit and nonprofit organizations in the area of organizational health, and I love what I get to do.
You're good at it too.
Well, thank you. And, when I'm at home, I typically am a run. I love to run. And I have 2 very opposite things that I love to do. So the 2 favorite things I love to do now is I love to run. I can't right now because I'm mending a broken leg.
Yeah.
And I love to knit.
The opposite ends of the spectrum.
Opposite. But actually, here's what it is. I don't sit well. And so at night when we're watching TV, I have to be doing something. And so I knit.
So what are you working on right now?
A sweater.
Sweater. That sounds like that would be complicated compared to most people are like, I made a hat, right? Which I've never done it, so I'm not saying that's easy.
Yeah.
But a whole sweater?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this for yourself or for someone else?
I never know until I get it done.
Okay.
Is it multicolored?
It's 2 colors, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is this going to be one of those sweaters that someone opens up on Christmas and they're like, thanks?
No, they'll open it up and go, oh my God.
Okay. It's that good.
That's cool.
It's awesome.
Just a little peek into your personality,
there
too.
you go.
Yeah.
If you watch my Instagram feed, you may see pictures.
I need to check it out. I need to check it out.
There you go.
Sean, you're also into knitting.
Not actually.
Oh, okay.
But I do get the, like, you're sitting in front of the TV.
Yeah.
You got to be doing something other than just watching TV.
Right.
Totally me.
What do you do?
Whether I'm listening to comedians on Instagram, doing
While
that.
you're watching TV?
I'm reading news. I'm doing something.
Do you like play solitaire?
Yeah.
Also?
No.
Okay.
Solitaire's for old people. So
Hey, my wife plays solitaire on her phone all the time.
While watching TV.
old's an attitude.
She's getting
so I don't
old.
know, maybe.
She's getting old.
Yeah.
Sorry, honey. Tell us about yourself, Sean. A lot of people know you, and then a lot of people that are watching and listening right now, maybe they don't.
Yeah, those who know me as a pastor here at Rocky, and some lead pastor. Been here about 11 years in September, so that's cool. Married to Jen for 25 years, and
That's
so
awesome.
she is awesome, love her to death. We've known each other since middle school.
Wow.
And
that's
didn't date till right after high school, but have been together for a long time. And then we've got 4 kids, and so oldest 19 and youngest is 12.
Wow.
Golly, man, they're getting older. Gee,
The
look on your
wow.
face.
And which getting ready to have another birthday. So it's. So anyways, we, as far as like hobbies and things that I like to do, I've always been very active. But my body's getting older, so the activity has always been playing basketball. You talked about running. I always say if I don't have a ball in my hand, I'm not running. Like, why run and put myself through that pain unless I have a goal I'm trying to achieve here with it?
Or you're running from something.
Yeah, exactly. And so I have always enjoyed that, but it's transitioned more to doing that with my kids now that they're in competitive sports. Just even simple things like rebounding for them. They're big basketball players, or coaching their teams or things like that. So
So fun.
that's been the fun thing that we do. We also have a dog. So we have Finley, who's a golden retriever. She's a 3-2 on the Enneagram.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know how I know that, but anyways.
I think Bell's a 7.
Yeah, 7 probably. That probably fits more the golden 2. But just fun, man. We love it out here. A lot of our family lives out here too, so that's been fun to have some of her family out here, and then my parents out here and stuff too. So that's us.
So the last episode, we poked fun at you because
You say that in every episode. We do. Like the last episode.
and Sean's my boss, but you have a thick skin and and you have a good sense of humor. You're
I have a thick skin on the outside.
on the inside.
Very sensitive on the inside.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
Let make a mental note of that. Let's go back.
3s have a feeling.
somewhat.
Just
somewhere.
3s have
Just
a
one.
feeling.
A feeling.
Yeah.
Which
That's
one is
awesome.
Whichever one's needed at the moment.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So we poked fun because Mitch and I remember you being on stage, and this is early in the Enneagram journey. And I think on stage you said, I don't know if you guys have heard about the Enneagram. Recently I was studying it. I'm a 3, 7, 8, 9, 2 or something like that.
No, I did. I said I'm a 3, and then I said something about a wing.
Yeah, you said
I
you're
don't
like
think
you're
not
like a
next
wing
to
8.
3. Yeah,
I'm like a
something
3 wing 8.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
And I was like, no, that's not how it works.
yes.
Shut up.
Do you know
and
how
sit
wings
down.
work?
And you've come a long way. In fact, it's a little unfair. You were saying before this recording, you actually had a training session with Mitch, and he gave you like 56 pages worth of stuff on your
We
type.
read it, and it took a long time.
Yeah. That's awesome. So you're all, that's so funny. As a 3, you just did this assessment training test, 56 pages long before the recording, so that you're like, I am ready. I have everything I need for this.
I actually would say I am whacked. I'd say after reading all that, I was like, wow. And this thing was as about exact. He gave me 2. He's like, here, use these 2 highlighters and highlight everything you agree with and highlight the things you disagree with. I think I had 3 lines in 56 pages that I disagreed with. And the rest, like, yeah, it's all the good and the bad.
That's good. That's good. That's good info. So I would love to know from both of you. We can start with you, Sean. How did you first hear about the Enneagram? What has that journey been like?
It was actually something we did on staff. So a counselor that Jen and I had been going to. So actually before that, it was that in our counseling, marriage counseling, we had done that. Counselor Michael had said, hey, we should do the Enneagram, go through this together. And we did. And it was incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
So then what we said is, hey, we should actually do this staff-wise. And so that came in. I think you were already, Mitch, were you already reading and doing some things on that?
I was just starting to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was interested, but just starting to.
It seemed like there were some people that it converged with. And so we were doing it as a family and talking through. And it's been the number one thing that has been helpful for us, marriage-wise.
That's awesome.
huge.
What about you, Cindy?
Yeah, it was probably 7-8 years ago, I was involved in an organization called Orange, and I was at a group meeting there, and they did like a session on Enneagram. And it was fascinating because they had all of us kind of decide what we were prior, and then they divided us up by all the numbers. And I'm like, when you look around at the group that's around you that are all similar to you, you're like, oh, I see you. You know?
Yeah.
And you start picking up on it. Oh, those things that I see and I agree with, and those other things that can be off-putting, I see that too.
Gotcha.
So that was my first. And then afterwards I came home and started kind of reading more about it. And then Mitch and I have also he's been coaching me about it a little bit too.
And Cindy's been coaching me. So
Yeah,
it's
you're
been
trading
good.
coaching.
Yeah,
It's super good.
That's awesome.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, why don't you walk us through just kind of that general overview, recap, if anyone is familiar with the type 3, but just tell us a little bit about what makes up the personality of a type 3.
So the type 3 is really the competitive achiever. Achievement is really paramount in succeeding and success. They're primarily motivated because they want to be the best, whether that's the best in however they define success. They want to be the best in that. And then they want to try to outshine other people in that area to prove that they are the best or the top. They focus a lot on being successful and ensuring the high regard and respect from other people. They focus on achievement and productivity, performance, and really winning and succeeding. I mean, that's a huge focus. And then the worldview, how the 3 shows up in the world, is that they believe the world values winners and doesn't like losers. And so they must avoid failure at all costs. And so how do I position myself to be a winner? And so quick overview, that's really how the Enneagram 3 shows up. Do you guys see that? Do you resonate with that? Do you like, nope, that's not me? What do you see?
Because we can just stop the podcast.
Yeah, if it is, we'll go find somebody else.
No, we're done.
But what is it in there that you resonate with, or like, oh man, that hurts almost?
There's a lot of it for me that I have worked hard to kind of, the perfectionism of a 3, I've worked hard my whole entire life not to be. And not to be, for me, sometimes it also like can come out in people pleasing, the things that I'm trying to do. You know, I've got that thing to be the best. It's like, oh, I've got to present myself in such a way so that I'll receive love or whatever that is, or affirmation from a boss or whatever. And so I have fought that my entire life. And so I don't know about you, Shan, but that's a big part of it for me, when that's like the dark side of it for me, right? But the other parts of it, it's very competitive. But interesting for me at this point in my life, not competitive against other people, competitive against myself. It's like I will work hard to beat my own goals. So it's like PRs when I'm running, even in knitting, it's like I'm like 4 inches past a mistake. And I'm like, oh, do I rip it out? And it's one little mistake on the side that no one literally will see, but I know it's there. And it's that perfectionism and competitiveness to be perfect that, it drives me.
So what did you do?
I've left it so far.
Hey, good job.
Yeah.
That is actually, so one of the development strategies for a 3 is to actually recognize some of those imperfections or inauthentic things, and instead of trying to smooth it over, let it ride.
Yeah.
And it's painful for a 3 to do that. But so that's why I was wondering what you're doing with that. So
I looked at it a long time last night, but I left it.
Now you have to. Now that Mitch said that,
I know.
There's no
it
going
gives
back.
it character.
So
too.
when you see me at church, you can just ask for it.
That's hilarious. You will know who listened to the podcast.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah.
What about you, Shan?
It resonate with a lot of that. And I think for me, one of the things early on in learning about 3, and again, I feel like some of you guys, especially Mitch, the work that he's done on the Enneagram, I mean, we're talking Yoda over here. I think, Nick, you have read a ton and podcasts and other things you've looked at. I know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
And so I think
That's how I feel about myself. Yeah.
well,
That's
but
what
you
I was
know a lot
agreeing
more
with.
than I do. So
Okay.
I don't know if that makes you more dangerous or me more dangerous, but I feel like even just going through the coaching this summer, I'm really excited about it. But one of the things with the 3 that I resonate with, even when I first heard all of this, is there's a lot of image management that goes along with 3s.
Yep.
Because you are competitive, you are an achiever, you want to be seen. And for me, it's not as much that I have to be perfect, but maybe that I have to be seen as whether it be valuable or successful. Success doesn't have to be perfect, but for me, but it has to be recognized as valuable or important. And so there's a lot of image management things that just the running voice sometimes in my head, not as much as I'm older, but man, when I was younger, I mean, even remember as a kid, just the running voice in my head of like, how are people perceiving me right now? Through my 20s, through my 30s, I'm not 48, but it's only been the last few years I've been able to get a little bit more control of that and not be pushed by that in the positive or the negative ways. That you're responding by what you're thinking about. What is everybody else thinking about me? Because that's a very like center of the universe kind of way to live, and that's not good. It can project itself in very selfish ways. So those are things about the Enneagram that sometimes you're just like, oh,
Yeah.
but it's real and it's true. How do we get better because of it?
Mitch, I'm curious because I know both of you guys, and one thing you guys have in common, you have a bunch of things in common, but one thing is just the sense of positivity. I mean, just very, very positive people. Is that something that goes along with a type 3?
Trying to be, positivity, but it's more of like optimistic. Want to make sure that this thing is viewed. Again, it comes back to the image thing that you were just mentioning, Sean, of like having this thing be viewed in a very optimistic, positive, forward motion, making progress style of way, because that communicates I'm winning or succeeding because I'm making these steps towards this goal. And again, that comes back to the image thing. The interesting thing with the image is, so Enneagram type 2s, 3s, and 4s all wrestle with this concept of image. 2s, they want to be viewed by other people as incredibly generous, supportive, helpful. 3s, they want to be viewed from other people as successful and they're accomplishing their goals and that they are winners. And then 4s, they're really wrestling with this concept of image, of being unique and special. And, this is who I am and how I show up into the world, and I want to be valued for that. So it's not just 3s that wrestle with that image stuff. It is this 2s, 3s, and 4s, which is the heart triad.
Okay.
And all of them struggle with but it's a different form of image. So I just thought I'd share
That's
that
helpful.
for like different
Super
perspectives.
helpful.
So I have another question along those same lines, and we'll get to the subtypes. But I think from what I've heard from people, type 8s and type 3s are often, they can get confused, or people will take an assessment like I scored high in 8, I scored high in 3. Also, both of those numbers seem to accomplish a lot. It's like they can get things done, and sometimes maybe even a really quick pace, a fast pace. What's the difference? What's the difference between a type 8 and a type 3?
So, they both want to accomplish a lot and accomplish big things. Now, the type 8 typically wants to just move the big rocks. I want to move this big, gigantic thing forward. Whereas an Enneagram 3 is, hey, no, I have these 6 goals and I'm going to achieve this, and I can achieve this, and I can achieve this, and I can achieve this. For the 8, it's not necessarily about achieving. They want to move these big projects it has to be very important to them. And they want to move these huge, big, important things forward, to establish like, hey, this is something I am doing. I have this control and I have this power. Look at how strong I am by moving this project, this whatever forward. And so that is one of the nuances of it. The Enneagram 8s do not have an image management problem. They show up as they are, and they will tell you this is how.
Kind of unapologetically.
Very unapologetically, very direct. Now 3s can also be very direct, but 8s don't beat around the bush. They don't want you to beat around the bush. They want you to tell them how it is, and they want you to do that up front. They don't want you to don't give me the story and then tell me the thing. Just tell me the thing and let's go. And so, I mean, now Enneagram 3s also would prefer more bullet points, short, efficient, give it to me. So there are a lot of similarities in that.
Can I put out an illustration about this?
Sure.
I would love to get your take on this. And I'd also love to hear if this is something that you've struggled with as a leader. A number of years ago, I led a very large ministry, and you know, those moments when you have crucial conversations, maybe with a staff member or with a congregant or whatever. At first, when I was first in ministry, I would sugarcoat it so much because I didn't want them not to like me at the end of that conversation. And they would walk away from it going, hey, that wasn't so bad. But they didn't really get that I didn't deliver and I didn't communicate in a clear way about whatever it was that needed to be corrected. It took me years to practice that to the point where I could still be kind and treat them with dignity, but have that crucial conversation without sugarcoating it so much, going, yeah, no, everything's great. And really nothing was great. Have you ever... Has that been something? Do you resonate with this?
We just talked about it at lunch.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. That's definitely, I don't know if it's the people-pleasing side like you're talking about.
For me, it feels like it is.
Yeah. I walk away and I told them, they're like, dude, he loves me.
I know, right? It's like everything's great.
Yeah. My wife would say sometimes too that for me, I would say so much up front. Like you're saying. I'd say so much up front that then I might say the back thing direct in the heart, but there was 85% here, and then a little bit, and then 3% of the
and
accountability.
And they didn't hear the 3%.
Yeah. They didn't even hear it.
Yeah.
I told you. We talked about that.
We had this conversation.
like we did?
I don't remember
She said
that.
6 things I was doing awesome. That's all I heard.
Exactly.
But again, it's to try, I mean, you're trying to be so careful with your words and how you're presenting yourself so that at the end of the day, you still have a good relationship because you still need to work together to achieve goals.
I think that is huge for me. Yeah, because that side of the 3 can be, you know, in the negative side can be, I hate saying this, but I've matured so much in this over years, but can be a little bit manipulative in the situation of, I'm trying to get us, and it's all out of a good motive. I'm trying to get us to where we need to go. I need you. I've had 2 situations in ministry, 2 of them further back. When I was in St. Louis, actually, there was one lady that just called me on my crap of, you encourage me to get me to do what you want me to do. That 3 side of achiever, we're getting there. I'm going to get everybody there. And so I would. She was one of the hardest, Carla was one of the hardest working ladies. She was phenomenal, but it was, how do I say what I need to say to you to get you to where we need to go? And finally there was she perceives that as deceitful or deceptive.
Which is the vice of the 3, is that idea of deceit.
Yeah. And I would be like, no.
It's all you're not trying to do it intentionally, but people can feel more like a pawn than a person in the moment. Yeah.
That's the part that stinks.
Yeah.
It's like, I never mean to be deceitful, but, afterwards, sometimes you go, oh man, I just wasn't upfront the way I needed to be upfront. And when I look back, I mean, older than you, Shan. And that's even funny about the Enneagram 3. It's like, I'm 63 now, and I even hate saying that out loud. And I've never had a problem with my age until I hit the 6-0 because there's this image thing, it's interesting. But all these years working through that feeling of, am I withholding on purpose, or why do I do that? And it's not for a bad motive.
No.
And that's the part that can sting sometimes.
So let's dive into subtypes.
Yeah.
And what I'd love to do, we haven't done this yet in an episode. I'd love for Mitch to cover a subtype and then get your responses, your feedback. The goal is not to type you today. You can type yourself if you want. But I would love to just break that up and get your feedback. And if it doesn't line up with, what you're feeling, say it. Okay. Or if it's like, I resonate with some of it, we'll have those kinds of conversations. But you want to dive into the first one?
Yeah. So I'm going to give one quick illustration so you can get the picture of all 3 of the subtypes with an illustration. And then I'm going to dive into the self-pres, and then we'll do what you're saying, Nick.
Do you need a graphic to come up on screen right now?
I wish I had a whiteboard because I didn't know what to draw it.
I know, right?
Sorry. Don't got it.
But this is an audio. I guess it's now a video podcast too, so that's kind of cool. So the illustration is, I want you to imagine a spotlight, and because it's kind of this image thing, and they're 3s are also known as the performers. So you think of this image of a spotlight, and so for the self-preservation 3, which is also the counter type, which means they can look not like a 3. And they don't wrestle with some of the typical things that a 3 wrestles with. Well, they do, but in a different way than the other 2. So the self-preservation, they put the spotlight not on themselves, not on others, but on whatever it is that they view gives them security. And so they pursue that thing. It's usually a thing, not an individual, or money, or a big bank, or a bank account, or home. It's usually just something to help them make themselves feel secure. And so their success, they define success as putting maximum effort and efficiency towards being secure. And when they feel secure, then they feel successful. And so the spotlight's on stuff usually, and not to have stuff for stuff, but to feel secure. Then the social 3, the spotlight is on them, and then they're there with a huge group of people, and that they can be like, I am the winner. I am here and more comfortable being on stage. And it's this idea of, man, I have arrived at this and I've made it. I've beaten the competition. I'm at the top, and I'm here with my other million followers.
Sounds great.
Million friends.
And my million friends. And then for the 1-to-1 subtype, the spotlight is not on themselves. It's not on their thing that makes them feel secure. It's on other people. And they find their success when the people that they are shining the spotlight on are successful. And if those people ever turn on them, that's really difficult for them. But it's like, my success is actually driven by the spotlight of the people I'm highlighting in my life. And when they're successful, I'm successful. And so that's just a quick overview. I wanted to paint that picture so you can kind of get an idea. But we'll jump into the self-pres. And I just want to give 3 quick things about the self-preservation. And the first one is they want to be the perfect role model of success. And so they think a person should be polished, hardworking, effective, determined, an overall just good and nice person, and then very productive. And this counter type can actually be mistyped as a social 1, because the social 1 we talked about a couple episodes ago wants to be the perfect role model. And so that's similar to how this self-preservation 3 looks, is they find success in other people being able to look at them as being, hey, I'm successful because I'm a nice guy and I work really hard. The second thing you need to know is that they're very self-sufficient. No, I would say the majority of 3 is probably like, yeah, I'm self-sufficient. These are the ultimate self-sufficient, self-reliant. They have a very hard time asking for help from other people. They are autonomous. And if they are not autonomous, they begin to panic. And they push really, really hard to get as much work done as possible. In fact, this is the subtype that can become the workaholic, and because they just keep going and going and going, and they don't ask for help. And they also believe that everything falls on them to make everything happen. And when they feel a sense of panic, they wrestle with anxiety, they wrestle with stress, and they think the way I get out of this is by working harder. So then they work harder, and they can't get out of that anxiety or stress, so they work harder. And it's just a sign of this cycle that keeps going and going and going. And the third thing you need to know is they have a lot of integrity and humility. And not that the other subtypes don't, but they really push against the idea of vanity. They don't want people to look at them as much. And when people look at them, it's almost uncomfortable. They're not going to be the Enneagram 3 that's driving the Mercedes or the nice car. They would rather drive a Prius and live in a track house, because that's not.
What are you saying about Priuses, man?
I'm like, well, maybe not a Prius.
Okay. I don't know. What would you say?
No, I'm not.
Keep the Prius. I'm all over the Prius. Yeah.
It's fine. I'm joking. I'm from a household of car guys, and they're like, oh, Prius? I don't think so.
No, but they don't. But this self-pres really is not about vanity. They don't want to be seen as that. And in fact, when they get recognized, it's almost embarrassing for them to be recognized for the success, which for the other two subtypes is not the case. So that's a quick overview of the self-pres.
So any initial either questions or comments? How does that resonate with you guys?
What would you say, Cindy?
And you can change your answer based on the other ones that you hear later, but feedback.
I mean, there are things, honestly, I did the 46-page, report, so I know what I am. And it's interesting because there are parts of the 3 before some of this report that I've been able to read that I'm like, dude, I know I'm a 3 because the core stuff, but there's some things I just don't resonate with. Yeah. That's one I don't resonate with as much.
Gotcha. So that self-preservation. Okay.
Yeah, I don't as much.
Fair enough. What about you, Cindy?
It's interesting because I think I know which subtype I am, and self-pres is not it, but there are parts of the self-pres that I do resonate with. And I'm sitting here wondering, actually, can a subtype change during seasons? Can there be seasons in your life where a subtype, maybe you'll lean more to one subtype than another subtype? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And so a lot of gurus, Enneagram gurus out there, they would say that you primarily have one dominant subtype. However, you have one other one that you swing to help you survive in certain contexts. And then you have one that is probably repressed or one you don't use that much. And so you'll probably see that. There's probably one you're like, oh, I resonate with that one. Oh, I can see that one. And then there's probably going to be one we go over that you're like, nope, that's not me at all.
Yeah. So Shan, are you saying that's without self-preservation feels like that's a nope for you?
There are certain things like some of the just work, but it's for a different reason. So yeah, most of that I would say there's some things that might look the same, but it's for a different reason.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I'm not driving a Prius. Like I won't. I don't drive a nice car, but I'm like, I ain't driving a freaking Prius.
People listening are like taking notes like, okay, so self-pres 3 is anyone driving a Prius. That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying. But.
No. Yeah. And Cindy, this might be one that maybe is not the dominant one, but maybe it is.
Yeah, it's not the dominant one, but I can see parts of this that even in just the last several years, as I entered into the career that I am in now, it's like I have some goals and I'm working towards that goal. And even when I developed my business, it's like I had a branding agent tell me, oh, you are your brand. You need to make it cindyfiala.com. And I'm like, no.
Oh, interesting.
So I initially started with that, but it was it was just so uncomfortable for me that I changed the name of it so that it's more generic. So that part resonated with me for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't drive a Prius either.
Poor Prius. I would drive a Prius.
But I wouldn't drive
am I a self-pres 3?
You might just be self-pres.
Okay.
But the working toward the security thing, whatever your version of that is, that's not me.
Yeah, it's highlighting the that whatever brings you security.
Yeah.
That's really the crux of this.
And see, I do think that's a season that I have been in.
Yeah.
Because starting this new business, it's like there are some big life stage milestones that we're coming up to. And I'm like, okay, there is a certain amount that of security that we need to have. And that's what I'm working for.
Yeah.
And again, so each of these 3 different instincts are really mechanisms to help us survive. And so it's when that instinct is married with that type, it gives us a different flavor of the personality.
Cherry Coke.
False.
Here's what's really interesting. As you said that, I'm like, it wasn't actually the whatever we want to call it, the goal. It was like, I can do it. No problem. We don't need to worry. I can do that.
Very like self-assured. Yeah.
Done.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear about the social
All right. So
instinct.
the social, they define success really as outshining others and beating the competition. And so here are the three quick things you need to know about the social 3s is, number 1, they are natural leaders. I mean, they almost have like a leadership radar. They want to be surrounded by other good leaders, and they can actually almost sniff out when there is weak leadership, and that can lead to them being really frustrated with people that they view as having a lack of leadership. They're incredibly influential and dynamic, admired by many because they lead with confidence. They consistently give their best, and then they want to make a great impression wherever they go. So great natural leaders. Second thing is they are the most competitive and aggressive subtype of 3. And so oftentimes this, the social subtype will actually score really high in 8. And that's where that 3 and that 8 gets confused, is primarily
Are you okay, Sean?
I don't know if I'm resonating with this one too much.
You're really trying to distract everyone right now.
Wow.
Like coffee.
Sorry. Keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
Do you need some water?
I might, but
Okay. So yeah, we want to make, so very competitive, very aggressive. They can be mistyped or think they're an 8, and probably score really high in the 8 category. They enjoy the spotlight, and so they strive to climb the social and professional ladder. It's something that almost gives them joy. That's like that goal of accomplishment, which can also inadvertently lead to sometimes cutting corners. That's another thing where 8s won't typically cut corners. They'll just bulldoze them. Whereas a three will be like, it's actually quicker if I just do this over here. Yeah. So they jump over here to that thing. So that's another difference.
Okay.
And then the last thing is that they are the true chameleons. You know, oftentimes you'll hear about an Enneagram 3 being a chameleon. They can shapeshift, and they know what is expected of them from the people in front of them, and they're going to mold themselves to get what they need so that they can achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. When you think about the meme version of an Enneagram 3, they're usually memeing a social 3. And when you hear a lot of people talk, if they're not talking subtypes, they're primarily talking about the social 3. Sean is still, he's still dying over here. They also have this strong need with this, the chameleon idea, the strong need to frame words very carefully to get the maximum benefit and to show other people what they want to show them. So that's a quick
Yeah.
overview of the social.
The social. So let's pause on that one. You're smiling.
Just like, dang it.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know. Maybe I don't know. There are definitely parts of that resonate with me. And I would say it this way, and maybe this is me, trying to make it sound better. I don't mind being in front of people. It feels different to me rather than someone who wants to be in front of people and they need the limelight. I don't need the limelight, but if I'm asked to stand in front and do whatever, I'm like, great, let's do it. It's not intimidating for me. But I don't think it's my number one motivator, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But
It's not mine either, which is interesting because I'm a pastor who teaches. So you would think, but honestly, for a long time in my career, that has been something that's created a lot of anxiety for me. I'm more on the side of, you talked about the, just kind of the social perspective of the room. So for me, I'm the social 3. So obviously from my test, I know
Is that what it said?
But it was like the aha moments for me reading through that of, yes, that has been me. So even the chameleon part of being able to, so I've had multiple different positions as far as being a pastor. So whether it be being a youth pastor, a small groups pastor, an executive pastor, I'm not a detail guy, but I can mold to that position to be valuable in the organization, to gain more influence and more opportunity. And so now I'm in a lead pastor position, and that, so it's whatever that thing is, there's something in me that tries to figure out really quickly what's the social landscape here, what's needed of me, and how do we move this stuff forward.
Yeah.
And I'm going to slide into that role. I can be very competitive, and in my younger years, some of that could be immature and be competitive with other people. And Mitch and I were even talking about it, when I was at a previous church, there was 3 of us young leaders, and the negative part of the 3 of me came out to be competitive with that and to be seen as the leader. And all great guys working together, but the competitive side comes out to try to be an influencer, or to be the one who's recognized and valuable for that. And
to try to outshine.
Yeah, and I hate that language, right? I hate that language.
Yeah.
But it's true. So But let me ask you this: with your competitiveness, this is just a question. I don't even know if this leads anywhere. Do you just want to know that you won, or do you want everyone else to know that you won?
Both.
And that's fair.
Don't you think it's about recognition?
Yeah.
I think part of being the best is about recognition.
Yeah.
It's like, I've worked really hard, and will you recognize me? I don't know if that resonates with you.
And that is most important for the social 3. And that's where, like, thinking about the spotlight on them, it's not necessarily that I have to be on stage. It's that I am the one in the spotlight being recognized by all these people. That's more of the concept of that.
Yeah.
And I think gotten older and matured, man, I really enjoy you guys' success. Worship night last night, I loved not doing a thing and watching you guys do your thing. Love what Mitch is doing with the Enneagram and all this. Love it. Cindy, you doing a leadership roundtable. Love watching that. Matt teaching on a Sunday. I'm not competitive with that. I love it. But there's also a side of me that all those things are moving us forward toward the things I feel like God's called us to, and that I really care about. So you can see a little bit of that thing of like achievement oriented. We're going, and I can celebrate your success because I do love you, but also I'm celebrating your success because it's moving us to something.
Yeah.
It's what is best. So the social in all of the realm, but especially the 3, the social wants what's best for the group.
Yeah.
And so you're trying to create this success, not just for you, but for Rocky.
And if you go back to that earlier situation in my life, there was in that organization where we were, there was some things we were trying to move toward, and I was definitely focused on that. And so some of that competitiveness was even trying to move out things that I didn't feel like were moving us toward that thing. And I'm going to be the one that to a little bit of that, not to try to be competitive and just be up the social ladder, but try to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish and go after. That was the motivator. But then it can play out when it's out of immaturity, it can play out in some really negative ways.
Or it can be, even immaturity, it can just be very unpopular.
Yeah.
Some of the decisions that a 3 will make in order to keep the organization moving forward can come across as very unpopular to the people around them.
But you're focused on
you're focused so much on what the North Star is. It's like I feel like that's when it can feel like an 8 because you're just so dogged in that pursuit of the goal.
Like fast moving at all costs, efficiency, productivity, check the box. Let's make progress.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yes. And Mitch, you said to me, slow down. Can you slow down long enough to communicate the vision of why, not just the what?
So good.
Because people resonate with the why. I hope I can. When I'm stressed, I have a hard time doing that. When we have a goal, we have a few goals right now we're talking about, and I can already see myself flipping into this mode of go. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, slow down. You've had an opportunity to talk about this behind the scenes with a whole lot of people. Let's cast the vision why. Just get people there.
You need to bring people along.
Yeah.
It's all about the why.
Let's go to 101.
All right. The 101 threes, again, they're trying to shine the spotlight on other people, and they find success in uplifting others and aiding others in achieving their success. And so a couple things you need to know. One of them is they are the ultimate cheerleader. They are focused on what is good for their family, their group, their team, and they really measure success through the successes of those around them. And they can also then find it difficult to promote themselves because they're really fixated on promoting other people and making sure they are winning in their success. And then second thing you need to know about them is they really do try to compete for the attention of others, but it's not like large groups of people. It's specific people that they're competing for the attention of, and it's those closest to them. And so then they take criticism, especially from those people, incredibly personally, and can really be wounding, and which can trigger like fear of disappointing other people, which can lead to some people pleasing, and those sorts of things. Then the third thing is they have a lot of external energy, but are internally disconnected. They have they're very energetic, enthusiastic, charismatic, generous. They're loyal and trusted friends and partners and colleagues. But at the same time, they can struggle with being disconnected from their feelings and from themselves, which can actually create an inner emptiness of not knowing who am I really, because who I am is the success of those people. And so what am I feeling? And then this can also lead to almost becoming a force of nature to be reckoned with when they don't understand or recognize their emotions, because this is the most emotional, even though they don't know what emotion they're feeling, the most explosive 3, because they have these emotions there, and then it can just kind of come out, and they're very passionate about those things. So those are the 3 things you need to know about a 1-to-1.
So how does that one resonate with you guys?
Yeah, that's the one that I resonate, and I'm pretty sure I'm a 1-to-1 3. I was sharing with Mitch maybe about a month ago. One of my greatest joys was the last church that, a church that I was at in Texas. And I had hired an intern in between her junior and senior year, and from Baylor. She came on. We ended up hiring her full-time as a preschool director. Well, she's now one of the teaching pastors.
Oh, that's cool.
She took my place as I exited when we moved up here, and just took it to heights that we hadn't taken it, and I hadn't taken it. And one of my greatest joys I mean, she's like a spiritual daughter to me, is just watching her soar. And so when we were talking about this particular subtype of the threes, I'm like, man, that one resonates the most with me because, and I don't know that I would have recognized that if I hadn't have had that experience, you know, because there was not 1 ounce of jealousy. There was not 1 ounce of, oh, I wish I could have done that with the ministry. I wish I could have, you know, it's nothing like that. It's just nothing but pure joy watching her get wind underneath her wings. And now, in doing what I'm doing, as I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm like, yeah, that's why I love what I do. Because I love seeing teams thrive. I love it. It's like I can walk away from there, go, that was a good job. Good job, God. Let's do that again. And it's not about me. It's about what the success that they're getting. The dark side of that is that emotional side. And that's probably very, very true of me.
Well, and that sounds like a tough spot to be, because I think what you said was the emotion will be intense, but not necessarily able to articulate what the emotion is.
Right. It is almost like this, it's propelling you and is coming out, but because the internal disconnection, it's not understanding what that is. So it just looks like anger and passion and what is happening right now and chaos.
My poor husband is like, I thought, what's going on right now?
You know, Mitch, you showed me on your phone one time, we were hanging out and you said, I just downloaded this app and it was about emotions, right?
I downloaded a feeling wheel app for myself.
Have you heard of this?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We've used it.
Okay. Let's talk, since I brought it up, can you describe it?
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
Sean's like,
Just
let's
laughing.
not do this.
I have a feeling wheel
Do you?
because Mitch gave it to me.
Yeah, I'm all about this feeling wheel right now. It has like 7 core emotions on the inside, but then it has, I don't even know, 100 different descriptors that kind of feed into these various emotions going around the outside. And this app, you can actually spin it around and on your phone, and then you can click the one, because every once in a while I'm like, as a 9, I don't know what I'm feeling. I just try to, all feelings and emotions to me make me feel like I'm going into chaos and is a lack of peace. And so even high emotions, low emotions, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm like, nope, rein it back in. And so for me, whenever I start to feel anxious or feel whatever, I try to actually go to this app and I scroll into, I'm like, that is it. Man, I feel slighted in this moment, which is why I'm feeling this, like I'm feeling angry about this. So I click it and then you hit click record. So you can actually record
Interesting.
your feelings throughout the day. So I do this, I try to do it once or twice a day, just to, like as a check-in with myself. And what's been really interesting is now I can identify what is actually happening inside of me quicker, and then I can release it or accept it or whatever. And instead of letting it just fester and bother me and, churn inside. So anyway, I think, so every number, and I can't remember if I've said this already on the podcast, but every number has an unhealthy relationship with feelings and emotions. And
Interesting. Say that again.
Every
single number has an unhealthy relationship with feelings and emotions, because we all value or undervalue certain emotions more than others.
Interesting.
So like 9s, they are like, I'm happy with no emotion. 5s, very similar. They want to try to put the emotion in a box and I'll go deal with it later. 7s, they just want to experience joy all the time. As long as I'm happy, it's unhealthy, right? We have to be able to experience the whole wheel. 3s, it's like, that's inefficient. It's not productive. It's not helping me accomplish my goal. So I'm going to put the feelings over here. So you take a look at 4s. 4s, they feel all the feelings all the time, which is still an unhealthy way of dealing with
they're
emotions.
overrepresented?
They're overrepresented.
Okay.
They don't feel emotions at out of 1 to 10. It's not a 10, it's an 11, but it's all the time in all of them. And so, but that's still, for them, it's like, how do I bring that more in balance?
Right.
So anyway, every number.
Very cool.
So good.
Shan, I don't think you spoke into the 1-to-1.
I'm not talking about my feelings. No, it's funny.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah. So the 1-1, there are things that the feeling part of struggling to identify your feelings. I definitely agree with that. It's funny, was he was describing it, I knew you would say that was your subtype.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and exactly for the reason you said. Even the job that you do now, just highlight, and the way I've watched you lead, even with our teams around here. You celebrate. You've even talked about things that we'll say up front, and you'll come and just high five and celebrate us for being values driven or different things that you just get excited about that.
Yeah.
And I think that's super cool, and I enjoy that about you. It's neat. You talk about the feeling side of things. We have a joke around my house because we think my oldest daughter is a 3 also. And we struggle with identifying our feelings. And so we will joke around with conversation. How you doing today, Grace? She'll be like, good. How you doing, Dad? Good. No, but we changed the inflection on
so
good.
different.
We got to change the inflection on good.
Means different
because
things.
we understand, the joke is like, all we have are the most general words for feelings for the two of us. And where my wife, she feels feelings deeper and she can express her feelings and she identifies them. And I can get so frustrated with the conversation of, how are you feeling about that? I might be as ticked off on the inside as anything about something that happened at work or whatever. I can't even tell you what the feeling is. I just know inside I don't feel good. I feel bad.
It makes me think of, like the different Crayola packs. It's like you can get some that have like 128 crayons in there, and then you get some that are like 64 and some that are like 12. It sounds like you might have, like, when you go to a restaurant,
The 4.
they give you a pack of 4 primary colors. That's right.
And they're wax. They're not even real crayons.
But you know what's interesting for me, I've learned too, is people can connect with feelings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've wondered why has that been difficult throughout it? Well, man, the more that over the last couple of years of dive into the idea of identifying your feelings, being able to communicate through feelings, it changes. It just changes relationships and connection. I think I would have a question for you, Mitch, on this. If you are a male and you're a 3, so I don't want to be generalizing and put that in just the men category, but do men struggle more with that, expressing their feelings when they're 3? I
would say, in my experience, yes. I also think it can be generational.
Okay.
And cultural expectation also feeds into that. And so I don't know if it's necessarily a male-female thing, because I think, I mentioned
my daughter too.
Yeah.
She's 3.
Yeah. I don't know if she probably is like, no, feelings still don't help me get to where I want to go.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to put those aside so I can get to where I want to go.
But the cool thing is she is working on that so much earlier.
Right.
Than I ever learned to work on that. And it's hard, and she'll just say it. It's hard. Whereas she has a sister who's an 8 that's like, blah. Here it is, just says it, kind of thing. But
I think growing up, if part of the culture of what you grew up in too was, hey, guys don't share their feelings. That cements it even more. That that makes it even easier for me just to put my feeling aside and to push towards my goal, and to not have a reason to go back and try to figure out, how do I deal with all this internal emotion going on inside me?
Yeah, I'll find sometimes even just relationally at home, I'll do what it takes to get things to be better, so we can move forward. And it's like, but that's not helping the relationship. The diving into what was actually felt, where that actually came from. How do we get better? That's the real work that needs to be done, and that's the slowing down.
It's the longer work.
Yeah,
it's more difficult.
Yeah.
So along those lines, I'd love to talk about growth. And Mitch, you've been really good to throw out some suggestions. We've already actually even tapped into it a little bit today. But I'm curious to hear from you guys first. What has been helpful for you to grow? Because knowing what I know of you guys, you seem healthy, and you seem the things that you're learning about yourself, maybe even through the lens of the Enneagram, it's like you've made a lot of progress. I'm curious, what has been helpful to help you grow?
Well, I think years, number one. I mean, there's just something to be said about time. But there's two things specifically I would say. The first thing is that just insatiable curiosity. For me, that means I've, engaged in a lot of counseling, not because I feel broken or because there's any big event that I'm trying to work through, but because I'm like, why am I like this? Why do I have this desire just to be better and do more all the time? And the feelings is what we're really digging into now with my counselor. And so I think that curiosity, a genuine curiosity, has served me well. Being open to the fact that, hey, I don't know everything. And I have not arrived yet. And I don't expect to arrive until I cross over the threshold of heaven. And so I fully intend on continuing to learn until that day, whatever that day is.
That's a really cool perspective to have when approaching any of this, whether you're reading books, listening to podcasts, going to counseling or therapy. Sometimes the stigma is like, I'm broken, I need to be fixed. Right. You might be able to approach it with just saying, what if you just had a curiosity to say, why do I behave like this? And it's not that I'm broken and need to be fixed, but it's this sense of, what can I learn? That might be a much more approachable way for someone to take that next step.
Has that always been something that you've tried to do? Learn and grow and be curious about your own self?
Well, about a lot of things, but myself included. Yeah. And I think, even just sitting here now, I'm having this internal dialogue because that's what we do. I think part of that is it does come from my Christian faith. I do want to be more Christ-like. And there are things that I know I need to strip off. And so that can be very, very difficult on my own. Because by myself, I'm like, hey, I'm great. I am who I am. But compared to Christ, no, that's a high bar. And I know that there are things that I need to continue, and sometimes multiple times, continue to strip off and continue to lay down. And so for me to figure out, okay, so why do I keep picking that up? Why do I keep putting that coat back on? Whatever that is. So
that's great. It's a good motivator.
One of the things for a 1-to-1-3 is to remember to also, as much as you're shining the spotlight on other people, every once in a while you need to shine the spotlight on yourself to take care of yourself and to work through your own stuff. And because so you don't just get in this mode of, as long as I'm helping you succeed, I'm succeeding. But if you do that at the detriment of your own well-being, you're not going to be able to be there to help other people. So, So all that to say, I'm encouraging you. Good job with with doing counseling and working through the things and learning to get rid of those extra layers of clothes that we don't need, even though we pick them back up. But but great job.
Thanks.
Shan, what would you say? What's something that you've found to be helpful?
Probably some of the same things. You say curiosity, I just said knowledge, but I need someone to lead me through that knowledge. So talked about my counseling, but that was for a period of time, right? And so then it was after that, there are some mentors that I have that was able to just talk through some of the darker sides of the three and my personality and chatting through. So I have a few people in my life that are helpful, even to the standpoint of like, our elders, I get a review every year. And so being a little more open with some of them about some of the things in me to where they can even identify some of those and work through that, even in the context of looking at me year by year as I'm working through. So you got to have strong relationships with people like that to be able to feel that way, that I can share that with them. And we do, that's good. But now I'm excited, Mitch and I are doing 4 or 5 sessions this summer, and I'm super excited about that. But I think there's that side of, for me, I'm not going to do, I hate to say this, but I'm going to do the work on my own to an extent, but I'm not going to be the curiosity guy that's going to dive into and listen to 1 million podcasts, read 5 books, do all of that.
Hold on 1 second. What'd you say, Jory?
We lost Cindy's camera.
Uh-oh.
I need to grab a new battery.
Oh, the battery just died?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I wonder when we lost that.
Do you know when?
Just now.
Okay, so you're talking. So what we can do is once we switch it out, answer that question again.
Yeah, definitely.
I can re-ask.
Perfect.
And then it'll be fine because we won't even notice that Cindy's camera went out because we were on you.
Okay.
Who knows? We've had good success in the batteries lasting. Must not have had a full charge.
And are we at like
We're getting close to time.
50, 55?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
Good.
Of actual recording, of actual episode, we're at an hour 5 minutes.
Okay.
So
Battery's low. Let me
Is it-
just double check if there's one more in the bag.
okay,
Is it
you guys have been
going-
doing great.
Is it going right now?
It is, but the second battery is too low.
Okay.
Like might not make it the whole time.
Hey,
Should
we're
check one
achievers,
more.
man. We can wrap this puppy up quick.
We don't have
Shut
a
her
ton
down.
more.
No, we can shut it down after that.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have another one.
All right, so we might just need to let it roll.
Let's do it fast. We got it.
See how far we can
Okay.
go with it.
Okay.
So I'll re-ask the question.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sean, what have you found to be helpful in your growth?
Same thing. I mean, Cindy, you said curiosity. I was going to say knowledge, but I think it's the same thing. But where I need for the curiosity and the knowledge, I need a coach or a mentor to lead me through that because I probably won't be the one that's going to go so deep into it to understand it enough. I get energy out of talking with somebody about it, having them help me. And so whether that be counseling, like I said, whether that be going through it with Mitch now, having a certain amount of sessions this summer that we're doing, just working on it. It's kind of a little more downtime as far as events and things going on. And so that's something I want to work on. But I think being vulnerable enough to sit down with somebody and say, hey, help me with this. The other side I would say too, and I think Cindy, you said a little bit of it, is just having some grace for yourself. Because I think in that even achiever side of a 3, I remember earlier on too, I would be very defensive. And it's still sometimes when I'm stressed, somebody brings something to me, I can be defensive. But starting to realize that, whoa, we all have things, right? And it's more like, let's just having grace for yourself that this is all just a growth process and doing that. So coach, knowledge, and somebody with knowledge to help me lead through it. And there's just, hey, we're growing. So it's okay.
And let's be clear. All right. I am not reading every book and I'm not listening to every podcast because I will cut corners. But yeah, with my counselor, with someone like Mitch it's been super helpful. But then what I do is I'll go back and I spend a lot of time journaling.
So
kind
you
of-
spend a lot of time reflecting.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. We
Yeah.
talked about that. 3's hardest thing for me to do is sit down and take time enough to reflect on what needs to happen.
Right.
I need forced time to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mitch, is there anything else, anything practical that you'd challenge any 3s listening to work on?
So, I mean, we've talked a lot about it, but really the slowing down piece is important. Finding whatever that rhythm looks like for you, whether it is journaling 10 minutes a day, do 5 minutes a day, and then beat your time next week. and do 7 minutes. Having that time where you can slow down to just be and learning to be. And then that also helps you reflect on some of the emotions and the internal struggle and who you actually are. This is a really difficult question, but who are you outside of what you accomplish and what success looks like for you? And I think that's an important thing. If I were to say, hey, go write down all the things about who you are. Oftentimes with a 3, we'll write down all the things they do and all the things they've accomplished. But outside of that, now take that, put that aside. Okay, outside of that, who are you? And it's a really powerful exercise for threes to try to get to, okay, how do I connect? That's a more internal question, and it's not as much looking at the external as it is trying to look at the internal side of who you are. So those would be my couple things.
Well, we're coming up on time. And I would love for you to think of like, if there's one last thing threes need to hear, but I do want to say thank you guys for being willing to put yourself out there. Cause I know the threes, I mean, from what we've learned today, that you do want to project this sense of like, hey, we're winning, we're moving the ball forward, we've got it together. And it can be uncomfortable sharing like, these are some of the things that are a little bit on the dark side. So thank you guys for being willing to.
Thanks for having us, Cindy. Thanks for doing it.
Oh man, no thanks. Thanks for inviting both of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Mitch, any last words for a three that's watching or listening?
Yeah. Man, your guys' drive and ambition is incredibly admirable by a lot of numbers. And I mean, by myself included. And what I hope that you take away is that, but you are so much more than just what you're driving for and what you're ambitious to go and get, and that you are loved for simply being you and not just what you do. So hang on to that. That's my encouragement to all the threes.
That's great. Well, thank you I know you've put a lot of work into this. So thanks for what you're sharing. And we hope it's really, really helpful for you as you're listening and watching. And if this either resonates with you and you know other people that need to hear this, send it to them. If you have a family member, a friend, send it their way, because we feel like it could be really, really helpful. And next week, we're going to pick it up again and talk about Enneagram Type 4s. Looking forward to that, and can't wait for you guys to hear the people that we're interviewing. It'll be a surprise. We're going to reveal
if they need any help on feelings, we're available.
We're there for them.
I think they're good. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.